In accordance with the ceremony, the defense minister and the commander of the parade start reviewing the troops. Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu will now inspect and wish Happy Victory Day to the Combined Army Regiment of the Russian Armed Forces and the cadets of the Military University, Military Logistics Academy, Mikhailovskaya Military Artillery Academy, and Air Defense Academy. Hello, comrades. I congratulate you on the 77th anniversary of the victory in the Great Patriotic War. The ground forces are the backbone of the Russian army, which plays the leading role in ensuring national security and protecting Russia's national interests at all times. Constantly improving their combat skills, learning how to operate new weapons and military equipment and use them to maximum efficiency. Good morning, comrades. I congratulate you on the 77th anniversary of the victory in the Great Patriotic War. The defense minister is now inspecting a combined regiment of the Russian Aerospace Force. Today, Russian pilots, air defense, and aerospace troops demonstrate high efficiency and stand ready to perform their duty and defend our country's airspace. Good morning, comrades. Congratulate you on the 77th anniversary of the victory in the Great Patriotic War. The defense minister has congratulated parade formations of the Western Military District Signal Corps, Military Police, Russia's National Guard, and the Ministry of Emergencies, and their biological and chemical protection troops. Good morning, comrades. I congratulate you on the 77th anniversary of the victory in the Great Patriotic War. The defense minister has congratulated the parade formations of the Strategic Missile Force, airborne troops, and the National Guard of Russia. Good morning, comrades. I congratulate you on the 77th anniversary of the victory in the Great Patriotic War. The defense minister has congratulated the parade formations of the Russian Navy, Russian Emergency Ministry, Russian National Cossack Society, female troops, and cadets of the Suvorov and Nahimov academies and Naval Cadet Corps, as well as the young army patriotic movement called UnArmy. A total of 11,000 servicemen are participating in today's victory parade. Army General Sergei Shoigu has finished inspecting the parade formations and is now heading to the central stand to report to Supreme Commander-in-Chief of the Russian Armed Forces, President Vladimir Putin. Comrade Supreme Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Russian Federation, the troops of the Moscow garrison are ready for the Victory Day parade, Defense Minister Army General Shoigu. At ease. Dear citizens of Russia, dear veterans, comrades, soldiers and warrant officers, midshipmen and sergeant majors, comrades, officers, generals and admirals, happy Victory Day. Defense of the motherland, when its fate was at stake, was always sacred. This is the feeling of true patriotism that felt the defenders of the Patria Minin-Pozharsky went to Borodino, fought against the enemy near Moscow and Leningrad, Kiev and Minsk, Stalingrad and Kursk, Sevastopol and Kharkov. That's how it's happening now, these days. You're fighting for our people, for safety of our motherland, of Russia. May 9th of 1945 will forever be perpetuated as a triumph of our one single Soviet people, of its cohesion and spiritual might, unparalleled exploit both at the front line and at the home front. The Victory Day is close and sacred to each one of us. There is no family in Russia that has not felt the suffering of the Great Patriotic War, and we will always remember that. These days, in the Immortal Regiment marches, the children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren are carrying the pictures of their family members, soldiers who fell and remained forever young, and the veterans who left us. We are proud of the generation of victors. We are proud to be their descendants, and it is our right to hold sacred their memory, who told us to be vigilant and to do everything we can to avoid the horror of the war. And Russia has always stood for having equitable and indivisible security system that the entire world community needs of. Last December, we suggested to sign an agreement about the security guarantees. Russia called on for the West to look for the sensible compromises and taking into account interests of each other. But it was in vain. NATO nations did not want to heed our call. It means that in reality, they had different plans. And we saw that. Openly, they were preparing for another punitive operation in Donbass, invading our historical lands, including Crimea. In Kiev, they were making statements about possible acquiring nuclear weapons. NATO alliance started actively exploring territories next to us. Hence, they were trying to create an acceptable threat for us. and it was in the vicinity of our borders. Everything was showing at the fact that the clash against neo-Nazis, Bandera followers, that the U.S. and their satellites put a stake on was something that had to happen. We saw how they were deploying troops, how hundreds of foreign instructors started to work, how regularly they were supplying state-of-the-art weapons from NATO countries. It was becoming more and more dangerous with every day, and Russia prevented this hostility. We had to do this, and it was the only right thing to do. The decision of sovereign, strong, and independent country. The United States of America, especially after the dissolution of the Soviet Union, started to talk about their exclusivity. Thus, they were humiliating not only the entire world, but also their satellites, who had to pretend that they do not notice anything. They had to swallow it all. But we are not the same. Russia has a different character. We will never renounce from our love to our motherland, from our faith, from traditional values, from the customs of our ancestors, from the respect to all nations and cultures. And in the West, these millennial values, they decided to cancel. This moral degradation has become the foundation of cynical falsification of the history of World War II. Russophobia, praising trade sufferings those who fought for the victory. We know that the American veterans who wanted to come to the parade to Moscow were basically prohibited from doing so. But I want them to know we are proud of your exploits and of your heroic deeds, of your contribution to the victory. We honor all the soldiers of the Allied armies, American, Frenchmen, Englishmen, participants of the resistance movement, soldiers and partisans of China, everyone who crushed Nazism and militarism. Dear comrades, today the militants of Donbass with the soldiers of the Russian army are fighting in their own land, where Svetoslav and Vladimir Monomach were defeating their enemies, of Suvorov and Brusilov were defeating their enemies, where the heroes of the Great Patriotic War were standing their ground, Nikolai Batutin, Kovpak, Ludmila Pavlichenko. And I would like to address our armed forces and to the militants of Donbass. You are fighting for your homeland, for its future, to make sure that no one forgets the lessons of World War II, not to have any more punitive squads and killing squads. We bow our heads before the memory of everyone who lost their lives because of the Great Patriotic War. We bow before the memory of the sons, daughters, fathers, mothers, grandfathers, husbands, wives, brothers, sisters, family members, friends. We bow our heads before those who were burned alive in Odessa in May of 2014. We bow before the memory of elderly, women and children of Donbass, civilians who died because of the shelling barbarian, for our comrades in arms who fell heroically in the righteous fight for Russia. Let us hold a minute of silence. Dear, the death of every our soldier and officer is a tragedy to all of us. And it's a irrecoverable loss for their families. The state, regions, enterprises, public and civic organizations will do everything to take care of such families, to help them, to support them. And special support will be given to the children of the fallen and wounded soldiers. The President's decree has been signed today. We wish quick recovery to the soldiers and officers who were wounded, and I would like to thank doctors, nurses, medical professionals of the field hospitals for their work. I would like to bow my head before you for fighting to save every life, often being shelled at the front line without thinking about yourselves, your comrades. Now, here, at Red Square, shoulder to shoulder, we see soldiers and officers from many regions of our vast homeland, including those who arrived right from Donbass, immediately from the conflict zone. We remember how enemies of Russia tried to use international gangs of mercenaries against us, tried to sow the dissent among us to try to break us. They failed. Today, our soldiers of various ethnicities fight together, shoulder to shoulder, covering each other, shielding each other, like true brothers they are. And it is the strength of Russia, the great might of our joint multi-ethnical people. Today, you're fighting for the same thing your fathers, great-grandfathers fought for, because for them, the security and safety of their homeland was the most important thing. And for us, their descendant, the main value is being true to our homeland. It is the strength of independent Russia. Those who crushed Nazism during Great Patriotic War showed example of true heroism for all times. That was the generation of victors, and we will always look up to them. Glory to our glorious armed forces. For Russia, for the victory. Hurrah!